Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about early European settlement and think about this idea that folks came to North Carolina for three reasons: God, gold, and land, right? So we'll be doing a lot of discussing what that means this week in class, and this video is meant to provide you with more background information about some things we're going to go through quickly, and also to give you kind of a general overview of what it means, what I mean when I say early European settlement, which is going to be our last unit before our track out, right? So make sure you're taking notes and really following along with the video. And if you need to, pause, go back, right? It's just fine if you miss something, just go back. Don't just say, oh, she kept talking and I missed it. Causes and effects of exploration. Now, of course, we know that folks came to the United States from mostly from Europe, Spain, Portugal, England, France. They were all coming over to the United States as this brand new land, as the United States didn't exist right yet, just this land mass, right? They were coming here for a lot of reasons. The causes, okay, so what caused people to want to come here? They wanted new trade routes. Okay, remember that the finding of the Americas was an accident. They were really looking for a quick way to get to India so that they could trade with the Indian people more quickly, get those products back and forth more easily. There was growing power and wealth for European nations, right? The nations of Europe were getting stronger, more powerful, more wealthy, and they wanted to trade more. They wanted more things, and they wanted to sell more things to other people. So obviously, this is a whole new land of new people. They wanted to be in on that deal. There's bigger competition for trade, right? That makes sense. If they're getting more powerful, more wealthy, they have more things, they want to be the first people to get to the newest customer base, if you think about it like that, right? And then one of the big things that we cannot overlook that was really, really important in exploration of the Americas was a missionary's desire to convert others to Christianity, and a desire to have a freedom of religion that they did not feel like they were experiencing in their lands, right? The effects were that people became knowledgeable about other religions. Okay, so all of a sudden they said, what? Everybody's not Christian. People might not openly accept our way of life, our way of thinking about the way the world works. The Europeans and the Native Americans clashed, right? So we learned a lot about the Native Americans last week, and we'll see that this continues, right? The Europeans kind of thought they were going to come over and say, we're here, everybody will be happy to see us. But that wasn't the case. The Native Americans were perfectly happy in their land and didn't particularly like some people that they didn't know coming to tell them how to rule their land. So, aside from the rivalry that was growing for competition for trade outside of the Americas, a rivalry grew within the Americas. And this rivalry was between Native Americans and Europeans, but also within the Europeans as to who was going to be in charge of this new land that they had found. Right? So, our places of interest. Portugal. Portugal took the lead in exploring the New World. They were the first ones. They wanted trade routes to India and to China, and they believed that they could find a more direct route if they went straight through the ocean instead of going around all those land masses that they already knew about. Well, they didn't know that the New World was there when they first tried it out, right? They believed that they were just going to go all the way around the world in the ocean. Didn't work, right? They specifically wanted to find a more direct trade route to Western Africa for gold. Remember I said early European settlements, one of the things that we had to talk about was gold, right? They thought they could find a quick route there, get more gold quicker than other people. During this time, West Africa became known as the Golden Coast or the Gold Coast. People still call it that now, okay? Vasco da Gama was the first European to sail from Africa to India. And Portugal became a very wealthy nation with their new trade routes. Okay, Christopher Columbus, we've heard of him, right? Everybody knows the little rhyme we learned in elementary school in 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right? He believed he could get to India from Europe by sailing westward. That made good sense, right? And that the route would be shorter. Not quite right. He believed it would take about 2 months on that route. And King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella backed him with the promise that he would spread Christianity, God, gold, and make Spain the wealthiest nation in the world. So they were going to get 2 for the price of 1 there, right? They were going to get God and gold. And this to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella sounded like the best option. So Columbus had sort of a 2-point system that he was going on there. He was supposed to make Spain rich and spread Christianity. His journey, he left Spain in August of 1492. We know that. And he arrived in what he believed was India in October of 1492. Now, it's important that he believed it was India. It was not, in fact, India. He actually arrived in what we call today the Bahamas. This area is also now called the West Indies, right? Western India. When they figured out they weren't actually in India, but they were in a new place, they gave it the name of the West Indies. This is also the reason why we call Native Americans American Indians. They were of brown skin. They looked different than Columbus and his guys, and so a lot of people believed that they had landed in India. They had not. Okay, so Columbus made a total of 4 voyages for King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. He went to Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and Jamaica after that initial voyage to the Bahamas. Never did he make it all the way around to India like he thought he was going to do, right? So following the clashing of explorers between the New Spanish and New Portuguese exploration, right? Both countries were going at it. They were trying to find all the routes they could, and they started to lay claim to things. They started to say, this is our area, this is our area. It caused some big ruckus, right, as we can imagine. So Pope Alexander IV created an imaginary line straight down the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and he said this was the line of demarcation. Demarcation just means marked off, right? So he said Spain gets all the land to the west and Portugal gets all the land to the east. You're in control of it. He didn't give them ownership, but he told them they were in control of it. They could decide what happens. So basically that means Portugal got to be in control of the trade in Africa, and Spain got to be in control of the trade in the Americas. Okay, so obviously we know this continues to be an issue. We also know that Pope Alexander IV was not some sort of world governing body. He didn't get to decide for the other countries who are also beginning to say, we're interested in those places over there, those American lands where there's an opportunity to get lots of money, there's new land, and we can spread our God, which we know in the time there was a split between the Catholics and the Protestants, and this was a big issue. Okay, so Ferdinand Magellan, he was one of our explorers, and he was the first European to circumnavigate the globe. So if you'll see there in your notes, circumnavigate is blue because I've put the definition down there at the bottom, right? So circumnavigate just means to sail around or to go around, right? So if you look like our name, the navigators, right? You're navigating, you're figuring out a route. And he was looking for a faster route from South America to Asia. So he ended up going all the way around the world. So you can see here his route with the red arrows. He ended up going completely around the world. Ferdinand Magellan, important name. Don't forget him. Okay, so I want you to think for a second. Why do we say that Columbus discovered America? He wasn't the first in the Americas. He was in the Bahamas, which we don't even count as the Americas now, and he didn't actually know where he was going. So we're going to watch a video this week that talks about who actually discovered America, what were these settlers even doing, and who was successful and who wasn't so much successful. Okay?